Hello, I can't believe how fast this fall is going. I just looked at the calendar and it's already almost October. Kind of crazy, right? Well, um, besides the excitement of fall, or maybe it's the mundaneness of fall, we have some things moving right along in our classroom as well. I'm looking right now at October 1st through 7th, which is week 7 in my syllabus, in our syllabus, and we are on Unit 3. We're still talking about that literary essay. Just to back up and give you some perspective this week, remember you started off with reading through several different literary pieces, whether they're short stories or poems in this case, and you discuss them. So that might be a resource. You might want to back up into your discussion boards and look at things that you talked about. Um, then last week you did a writing to analyze worksheet, and you took maybe one or maybe several, some of you handled several pieces of literature, and you analyzed them through these questions. There are also additional questions you could find in your textbook. Now we're to the big assignment, right? We're taking everything that we discussed and everything we've analyzed and we're crafting it into a literary essay. Two assignments due this week. One, of course, is your editing assignment for the literary essay, and the second is the actual essay itself. Couple things to keep in mind as you're writing a literary essay. First of all, if you haven't taken the time to back up into the Hershberger and Aaron texts from last week, they do define how to write a literary essay, so you're not just on your own on this. But I do want to remind you a few things. The first one is, I think the feedback form should be loaded in the classroom this time, and I can give you more feedback if you can put that, well, I ended up copying and pasting it in for your last paper, but it really helps me if you go ahead and do that, copy and paste that, and do fill out the feedback form, because I think it's a really valuable reflection tool as part of our writing process. It also helps me to know where to jump in with you. For example, maybe you think you'd like to work on your introductions, and it helps me to kind of help you get started on that particular writing project that you see as a need in your own writing. So do copy and paste the feedback form to the end of your paper. Do have a works cited page for this paper. I know it's just one source. You're going to use the source found in an anthology again, and for your internal citations you only need page numbers because you're only using one source. Do not use outside sources that give you other analysis tools. I really want to hear what you think, not what all the critics say about this poem or this short story. If you've already peeked at some of those, try to do your best to enter into the conversation where you come at it from, based on your own knowledge, not on research. And that's not held against you. You might feel inadequate, but just call upon the tools that you already have in reading. You've done readings for a long time, I'm sure. Okay, I'm looking in Unit 3. Just a couple reminders about what this paper is and isn't. Definitely not a summary paper. I don't really want to know the meaning of your poem or story. Meaning might play an aspect in it in terms of summarizing it, but what goes beyond the meaning? If you look at the steps in the course content, we talk about what goes into your introduction paragraph, what goes into your body, and what comes into your conclusion. And it also talks in step 3 about arguing with analysis. We want to, we're not, this is not a value judgment. You're not going to make statements like, this poem's a good poem. He says a good thing when he says, or this is a bad poem. We're not making value judgments. We're actually analyzing. Analyzing is creating an argument that comes out of or is related to the inherent argument in the story. You're going to notice maybe a sympathy towards a certain character that's developed, and you're going to analyze that, or a relationship that is that maybe contains a certain amount of argument in it. An argument might be an argument for a sympathy towards a criminal, a war criminal, in the Ambrose Bierce story. And you know what? It makes you wonder maybe what perspective is that author coming from? You might even make a great argument in that particular piece about how our reality is formed, and how in cases when we're under the most duress emotionally and psychologically, where does our mind take us? You could analyze from those directions. Again, you're going to possibly use the worksheet, the analysis worksheet. That might be a good jumping off point. Um, there are several different tools that are in your course that make sure you're looking at that. And again, I give you some examples and some organization details that might help as well in the course content. So I'm referring to you there strongly. When you're talking about literature, use present tense, the author says versus the author said. The author is not necessarily the writer of the poem or the voice in the poem, so you have to separate speaker from author. Robert Frost may not be at a road less traveled. His voice or speaker of his poem is. I can write a poem totally from a 6-year-old boy's perspective just because I live with a 6-year-old boy, but that doesn't make me a 6-year-old boy, even though I'm using first person. The author should be referenced by last name frequently in the poem as a way of giving him or her a voice in your analysis. For example, by creating a character who is hopeful for change but does not realize the hope fulfilled, Cheever creates a believable scenario between father and son. These are all, by the way, in your course content. I'm just reminding you of them. And citations can contain, again, just a number. You don't have to have a source and a number. Hopefully this is helpful and not overwhelming. As always, write if you have questions or concerns, and we look forward to seeing your work. Please post as early as you can, even if it's a partial draft, to the discussion board so that you can edit so other people can edit your work before the last minute, and so that you can edit others. And do include in that assignment both your rough draft or portion of your rough draft, along with who you edited, not who edited you, because you can't control that. Have a great week, and happy writing.